the clock with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's our custom to have a moment of silence for men and women in uniform and those fighting the pandemic, COVID-19. Thank you. We will, 6:01, we'll bring this meeting to order. For those selectmen that are on Zoom with me, if you find you have a conflict of interest, it's time to disclose it. I'm sure you've gone down through your agenda. I don't think there is any, but should you have something, this is your time to let me know. Okay, thank you. I need a motion to review and approve the minutes of January 19th.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for the Board of Selectmen on January 19th, 2021.
Second.
Hold on, I got to get a mask on. I didn't anticipate this here. Hold. What did I do with the mask? Okay. All set. Moved and seconded. Cindy and Ethan. Any changes or adjustments to the minutes from the January 19th meeting?
No.
No?
Nope.
Cindy, you all set? David Haley, you all set?
All set.
Thank you. All set? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moved and seconded. Public to speak under non-agenda items. I'll start with somebody who I don't know. His name is, oh, it's gone. Oh, no. What's that one say? Irving Deck.
Hi, good evening. I'm just here in case you have any questions on one of the items, the proposed lending of FA entitlement money.
So
I'm
nothing
with
under
Stantec
public to
Consulting
speak?
Services.
Nothing under public to speak. Mark? All set? Thank you. Next up is boards and committees. You have the planning board meeting from December 9th. Any questions on that? Thank you. Consent items under number 7, Economic Development Reserve. I'm just going to give you my point of view for Casco Bay Advisors. If you've read through this thing, Joe's going to go over it, but my sentiment is we pay a quarter of this, not the entire bill. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the board's packets, as the chair alluded to, there's 2 or 3 pages of invoice material. This is from Casco Bay Advisors. They work with Greater Franklin Development and Charlie Woodworth. This was unexpected on my end. I didn't know this was coming. However, I do feel as though the efforts were useful to the broadband initiative. And I agree with the chairman that it would make sense to split this 4 ways. I have not discussed this with any of the other communities. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention and see if you wanted to authorize an expense from a reserve, either for a portion or the entire amount. But again, I would recommend a quarter at this point.
I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner. Cindy?
Yeah, it sounds like Joe's really looked at this and I would support that.
Okay. Ethan?
Yeah, I think it's more than fair.
Okay. David?
Yes, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Good.
I think that we have a meeting coming up too, that we could bring it up at.
Oh,
Yep. I need a motion to support payment of 25% and authorize Joe to make the payment.
I'll make a motion to
pay 25% of $1,462.50 to Casco Bay Advisors.
I'll second it.
Hold on, David, before you second it. It's 1,837.50.
Apologize, okay.
Okay, David, you want to make that second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Aye. Vote, 5-0. Hawaii 5-0. Next is proposed lending of the FAA entitlement money. Bill Garish from Santec. I don't see him. Oh, there you are. Hello, Bill. Let me put Joe on first to give a little update on that, and then we'll bring you in, Bill. Hang on. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last week I had a Zoom meeting with Bill and Irvin and Catherine Ruth from the town of Pittsfield and Caleb Curtis from the town of Pittsfield and some folks from the FAA. Tim Lesage was there and Stacy Haskell. Long story short, the town of Pittsfield is working on a program for improvements to their T hangars, I believe, and they're looking for some funding. And FAA has a program. I'm going to give you the broad strokes on this. FAA allows towns to share entitlement funds. So each municipality gets $150,000 a year in entitlement money, and they can accumulate up to $400,000. After $400,000, if they're not spending it, the FAA, as I understand it, stops giving you the $150,000. So we have some money put aside. And again, these funds are not in the town's coffers. They're on paper at the FAA, but we have some money set aside that we've put up over the years. And we were going to use some of it for our master plan update, which was going to happen in 21. The reality is that's probably not going to happen now until 22. So we have, long story short, we have some funds that are available for another community to borrow. Did I do a good job of that, Bill, explaining that?
Bill
Yeah,
Garish.
that was perfect, Joe. Yeah, just the numbers, I guess, that the entitlements that the airport currently has in 2021 is a total of $402,620.
Come on.
So that is sufficient to provide or transfer 300,000 to Pittsfield for their project. And that would leave Rangeley with $102,620 going into 2022, in which you would get another 150,000. So that would bring you up to 252,620 next year. If you want to do the master plan next year, the airport is obligated to repay Wiscasset for a similar transfer of entitlements of 56,000. So that would still give the town of Rangeley $196,520 in 2022 in order to do a master plan, which should be more than sufficient for a master plan update. And the next project that Rangeley has programmed is, after the master plan, would be pavement maintenance in 2024. And that would be the year that Pittsfield would transfer 300,000 back to the town of Rangeley in entitlement funding. So that's just a summary of the numbers.
Any questions? What we're looking for here is a is a motion to allow Joe to negotiate this loan to Pittsfield.
I'll make a motion that we approve a loan of up to $300,000 in airport entitlement funds to the town of Pittsfield, Maine.
Moved?
Second it.
Okay, any more discussion on this? Before I let Shelley take over and slide up here, we all set? You like it?
Sitting at your
Just give me
camera,
a second.
and you were looking
Are you-
down. Sorry.
You're gonna stay home next time.
I know.
Are you all set with it?
I'm good, yes.
Cindy, you okay with it?
Yeah, we've benefited from it in the past, as you know, Bill said, and it's only the right thing to do is to reciprocate.
Good. Ethan?
As long as it doesn't overwork Joe, just because he's got a lot of stuff going on coming into budget season and everything else. Seemed like there were some time frames involved.
That's a good point. Bill Garris is actually going to participate in filling all the blanks and dotting the i's and t's on this. So your point is well taken.
I
Joe,
just-
hang on, Cindy, hang on. Joe, you all set? Any questions?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay. I'm sorry, David, I forget. Stop calling you Joe. Yes, Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just want to echo Ethan's sentiments as well. Just hoping this doesn't bring our town manager more, more work with everything we've got going on with improving other areas of the town. And it's, good to see that we can, just bump the master plan improvement off to 2022 when I'm sure we'll have a lot more time.
All right, Cindy, you in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Oh, David?
Yeah, aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, aye. 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Bill, for getting on board with us tonight. Appreciate it.
Okay, most certainly.
Joe Roach, AFG Fire Grant Application Authorization. Could you give us a little update?
Be happy to, Mr. Chairman. The fire chief has presented this to you this evening in compliance with the recent update in the grant acceptance policy. What he would like to apply for or have permission to apply for is the Assistance to Firefighters Grant. I believe it's a 5% match that the town would have to contribute. So what we're talking about, what he is requesting and what he and I have talked about with the finance director through the budget process is exploring, and I know some of you are hearing this for the first time, exploring the possibility of acquiring a new fire truck as opposed to a used one. And this is preliminary, but to kind of prepare ourselves in the event that this does make it through the budget process, the chief would like to have the authority to apply for the AFG grant. And his deadline is the 13th of February, I believe. So we're looking for authorization to apply for this grant. And again, the match, because the match is roughly $35,000 from reserve, it comes to you now before we apply to make sure that you're comfortable with it.
Questions for Joe, please.
Joe, besides this seems like a decent opportunity, what's the matter with engine 3 right now?
So there are a host of things that the chief is concerned about, and I know he expects to get into those in more detail in the budget process. I don't have that list in front of me right now, but there are some things he's concerned about with that machine, with that truck.
So it's an aged vehicle. Could we
It
say
is,
that?
yeah, exactly, Mr. Chairman. The average expected lifespan of a fire truck or a piece of fire apparatus is 30 years. I think this one is over 20 years. I think it was purchased a few years ago when I was here before. So we're at the tail end of this life cycle for this truck. And there are a number of specific ailments that the chief would have to tell you about, but I know he's got some concerns about that particular truck.
Okay.
Cindy, any questions? Nope. David Haley?
No, I guess not. The grant gonna cover most of the truck?
So if, Mr. Chair, if we were successful, the grant would cover 95% of it. Now, that's not a promise that it would happen. But the only way to know if we've got a chance is to apply for it. And it'll all come out in the discussion when we talk about budget, whether the board feels it's the right thing to do to carry. I feel like it's the right thing to explore anyway, is a new truck. And it has to do with that 30-year lifespan that we talked about. But if we're successful with the grant, it would cover 95% of it.
Thank you. Sounds good to me.
Thank you, David. Shelley? All set? You need a motion for us to allow them to push for the grant?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to apply for the grant for the fire truck.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion or questions? I can see you, Shelley, if you want to just tell me if there's anything. You're all set? All right, Cindy, aye.
aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0, thank you. I have some correspondence for you here, if you give me a moment to dig it out. Here it is. Right here. Received a letter from Evelyn and Bob Taylor. Dear Rangeley Selectmen, this letter is in response to your meeting on the 4th of February regarding high-speed internet with the Consolidated Communication representatives. We have been customers of Consolidated ever since they took over Fairpoint. We have called numerous times asking when our internet would be upgraded. Of course, we never got an answer. We hope now is the time. We live at 46 Furbish Road, just below the golf course off Mingle Loop. We are very much interested in getting high-speed internet access on our road and hopefully in our whole area. Best regards, Evelyn Taylor and Bob Taylor. I'll leave this with the town manager, but it's here. Thank you very much for your letter. That's all the correspondence I have at this time. Next up is old business. You have in front of you the letter from Senator that they redone after recommendations at our last meeting to go to Senator Black to help us get representation from the county commissioners. After you perused it, any changes? Hearing none, I need a motion to accept so we can get it via email to you all tomorrow for signature.
Make a motion that we approve the letter supporting Senator Black's request for an increase to 5 Franklin County Commissioners from 3.
I'll second.
Good.
Thank you. I'll start with my colleague here in the room. Aye. David?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
All of us, thank you. In your packet, you have lien foreclosure procedure information, which was requested. Joe, any add-ons with this that you'd like to add?
No, Mr. Chair, other than this information does explain the board responsibilities once it's foreclosed, and the tax collector and I are working to put something together for the board at a future meeting, possibly your next meeting, so you'll have an idea of what has recently foreclosed and hopefully a path forward for the board or an option or two for you going forward.
Any questions in this with this material? Okay, thank you. Information only. Next up is the fire chief job description, a draft that you have here. What's your thoughts on that? Change it, modify it? Any questions? What you see? We'll start with Cindy.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering why are we doing it?
Go ahead, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, there is not not an approved job description on the books for this position.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'd like to have the board adopt it. And this position does report to the board, so it would be the board that would review it and make a decision on that.
You'll notice on page 5, everyone, 5 of 5, that he says it reports to the town manager. as you recall at our last meeting, I made a request to all of you that we put on our warrant that in fact he does report to the town manager, currently reports to us. So that will be a change in the job description after this is A, adopted, and B, we have a town meeting that gives that authorization. That clear as mud? Cindy?
Yeah, I just have, I have a couple of suggested edits when the
You're-
time comes.
You're up.
Okay. On page 2, number 5, I'm not sure if it goes interviews, selects, schedules. I think so. The selection process depends on the position. I think sometimes it's recommends. So I just wanted to bring attention to that. That one in number 5. Overseas, so number 14, I don't know whether we should add when applicable or appropriate. I don't think he can show up on any scene and oversee the coordination. Also, I'd like to add that the chief is responsible for maintaining current or better ISO insurance ratings.
That would be number 30.
Yes, number 30. And then backing up to number 18, where we have a grant policy now, we also have a purchasing policy. I don't know if we should add, subject to the approval of the town manager. And then lastly would be, nope, never mind. That was it.
Thank you. Ethan, any changes, suggestions?
No,
David Haley?
All set.
I would just say, like, for right now, we grade out town manager, but to make sure that we're putting selectmen in that category. And then the same thing, so that's on page 1 at the bottom. It's also on page 2, in number 17. And then in 27 on page 3. And then on page 5, it has question marks under supervises, first assistant, fire chief, question mark, second fire assistant, fire chief, question mark, firefighter, question mark. Are those going to be determined on everyone's title? Is that what we're listing under that?
Can you just tell me the last one you're referring to? Where are you on 5?
I'm on page 5 of 5. It says supervises, and then it lists, but it has question marks after them.
I wondered what that meant too.
Joe and I talked about that earlier, and the recommendation is it should say department and all staff.
Okay.
Agreed with that? Okay, we've got it reflect, Joe, do you want to add anything to this before we send it back for review? Okay, Tracy, did you get all of that? Tracy, did I catch you snoozing?
No, she's talking in the other room. She just doesn't have her microphone on.
Okay.
I think we captured it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Anything else on the job description, the draft? All right, we'll send it back to the drawing board and we'll get it for us for the next meeting. All right, good. Clarification of Zoom format for all boards and committees. I don't know if you got an opportunity to read the the material that was sent to us from the state. It is a state recommendation that all meetings now be Zoom, and we are making that request for a motion tonight that all meetings that involve anything within municipal government here become Zoom meetings. Planning board, et cetera, Board of Selectmen, all of them, for the safety and well-being of everybody.
Are you looking for this to cover a certain time period?
Until further notice. We don't know what the timeframe is going to be, Cindy, neither does the
Right.
or the CDC. So until further notice. So if somebody could include that in their motion, that we Zoom all meetings, municipal meetings until further notice.
I make a motion that we, that all municipal committee board meetings in town of Rangeley be held by Zoom until further notice.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, comments, contrary or otherwise? Okay, hang on, I'm writing still here. Ethan, a second. Cindy?
aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
And I. That's 5-0. You might be asking yourselves, why am I asking everybody? I attended a Zoom meeting of a board recently, and it was allowed to have just the chairman move the question. I will not do that. Everybody's going to weigh in on each one so that we hear everybody's voice, and I get to see you, and it'll be reflected in the minutes as such. Okay? So if you're wondering why, that's why. Comprehensive Plan Committee update. Joe has been looking and scouring the land from hill and dale and high and low, and we've got Johnny Wakefield who's interested, maybe. We're going to catch him after his second drink tonight and see if he's still interested. If you know of somebody else out there, folks, please have them get in contact with the town manager. It's pretty important stuff we've got to go over here. Questions on that, anybody? Comments?
I would think that, just the unknown format of how meetings are going to be held and what it would be a challenge to get people to jump on board unless they knew that they could Zoom into meetings from their home and not be at risk to attend personally.
Yep, I agree, Cindy. This may be my one and only, or very few times I've ever done this, but Mark, Mr. Beauregard, if you could put that in your newspaper as a request and maybe outline how it will impact them personally, meaning they don't have to come to a meeting, they can Zoom it. We might find that some people would be a little bit more acceptable to those terms and participate. Appreciate it if you could do that, Mark. Thank you. Okay. New business. You have your annual budget. I want to make sure everybody got it. Cindy, do you have yours?
Yes.
Ethan?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Good. That's the initial draft. We are recommending, or I'm going to recommend to you now, that February 11th would be our first Zoom meeting with the Budget Committee. Is that correct, Joe? February 11th? Yeah. Get back to us if you have some conflicts on that. I'm not expecting you to answer tonight, but that's a ways out there, and let us know that that's a good date for you, okay? Appreciate it. You have your TIF draft policy. That's, take a look at that, see what you think. Joe, you want to comment on that at all?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do have at least one comment on it. This is came in from Daryl last week. He'd been working on it. He researched several different policies the towns had, and he talked with Alyssa about it. The one thing I want to point out, Mr. Chair, is item 6, Roman numeral number 6, at the end of the document on the last page. And if you don't mind, I'll just read it. Each year, the Rangeley Region Economic Opportunity Committee, along with the town manager and economic development consultant, will make recommendations to the select board as to which and what value projects identified within all active TIF development programs should be funded with available TIF revenues. So this is the the public component of that process. It's not town meeting, but it is a public process where recommendations will be made to the select board. The select board will do this in a public proceeding. And undoubtedly, somewhere along the line, these projects will have to be matched by other funds somewhere. So town meeting will be involved in that part of it if there's a match. But this item 6 does, in this draft policy, does spell out the public process. It is not a town meeting process, but it is a public process in which programs, projects are discussed and presented to the select board. And then one other comment, the board would not adopt this policy until after you know what happens on March 9th when you have your town meeting. So there would be no benefit or purpose to adopt this until after you know if town meeting had authorized the TIF program.
Mr. Borgard, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. I was just wondering on the portion where voters get an opportunity to decide what amount other than 100% of the tax increment revenue would remain in the TIF fund. Should this policy have some detail on how that part of the process would work?
I think it should. That's a good question. Joe, you want to respond to that?
I do, Mr. Chair. I believe it's covered on the second page, but I haven't committed it to memory. It does say, in order to take full advantage of the local benefits a TIF district can provide, the town can capture 100% of the incremental value created by all development projects. It doesn't say it has to, it says it can.
Great.
I don't know if,
Second, Joe. Cindy?
I think it should say up to 100% and perhaps with some input from the tax assessor so that we have an idea of whether we capture 100% or 75%, how that is going to affect taxes,
Mhm.
you know. So that was the other thing, is the up to 100%. And then, gee, if there was just a way for us to understand or understand the outcome of a certain percentage of that capture.
I think your phraseology at the beginning of that, capture up to 100% with input from the tax assessor, suffices that, what your goals are in that, Cindy. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Mark, does that answer your question, sir?
Not exactly, or not completely. So will this be, a warrant article at town meeting? Do you want to capture 100%, 80%, 50%?
No, this is a policy that will be adopted. It's a working in progress policy after the March town meeting, when a TIF zone in the entire process is adopted. If it's not adopted, this is useless. We throw it out. If it's adopted, Mark, then we work on the policy on how we go forward. So there's time to create this in a better format. Correct, Joe?
that is correct, Mr. Chair. The board has time to take input, such as you're doing tonight, and edit this document. And since it is policy, it does come from the select board's table. You would vote to adopt this and amend as you move along.
Mark?
So if I understand this correctly, this will remain a working document in draft form until after the outcome of the special town meeting on the TIF.
That's correct.
Okay,
We good?
yes, thank you.
David Haley, you good? I saw you
All
like.
set.
Okay. Ethan?
Yes.
I just have, sorry, on part of the policy, you say the town of Rangeley and the village of Aquatic.
No, Fran Rangeley.
Hmm?
Hey, again, it does say it here. Where are you specifically referring to? Page
So
1, 2, and
it's
3.
underneath purpose and introduction, it's the first paragraph. And then in some places it says the town of Rangeley, and then it says Rangeley and Aquatic, then it says Rangeley and Aquatic. And I didn't see if there was anything in there about a conflict of interest. Because I noticed that a lot of it has to do with like review and final review. So the town manager, economic development consultant, the economic development, and the select board. So it didn't say anything at all about if there was a conflict. So if someone was actually a member, do they, making sure they're not voting on something to approve themselves to get some tip money funds.
Okay, have you got those all marked down on your sheet? Okay, perfect. So we have those recommendations for the final policy, should we get to that point. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Town manager performance evaluation, you have that in front of you. And you also have in material for later on. Any questions on that? Thank you, Joe, for supplying that for us. Board legal research authorization. Joe, you want to fill us in on that?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute, before we get there, I'd like to get this evaluation done by the next meeting, okay? So we can get that behind Joe and behind us as well. Any objections to that? Okay, very good. Broadband legal authorization.
Mr. Chair, we're going to be having staff and I will be having a meeting tomorrow with legal counsel. I've got that penciled in. We have some questions about the process as it relates to broadband. We've got a few final things we want to wrap up before the 4th. And if nothing else, I just wanted to make the board aware, I really would like to have you authorize it to have us answer those questions. And the reason I'm thinking this way is because similar to what we talked about above with the Casco Bay Advisors, this item will benefit all the communities involved. So it will have an impact on us. We'll essentially be paying for the legal fees for the whole community to get these questions answered. So I just want to make sure that the board is okay with that before I move forward with that meeting.
I'm personally good. Cindy, you good?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Ethan?
Yes.
David, you good?
Yes.
Good. You have a question, Mr. Beauregard?
I do. I would hope that this discussion would include performance guarantees in the agreement with a fairly aggressive timeline, that should we move forward on this, that there are incentives that this gets done in a reasonable period of time, and that there's, some type of penalty if they don't hold up their end of the agreement, because we don't want people to be any further disappointed, in a internet situation than they already are.
Good point. Thank you, Mark. Anything else, sir?
Yes, one thing, I was surprised, and I've been poking around a little bit, and I didn't know that fiber is, I guess it's run to the town office now, and it's available to businesses around the community, and that it already goes up to Saddleback, up to the ski area, and actually runs all the way up Route 4, out Route 16 to Errol, New Hampshire.
That's correct. It also runs.
And I didn't know that it had that much of a presence here. And I thought, in that $3 million, they were going to have to be running it from, down around Strong or Farmington somewhere, all the way up into Rangeley. So I was just wanted to mention, I was surprised to find out that it had as much presence as it does in the area already.
Just to give you a little bit of history on it, Mark, fiber optic was introduced into Rangeley when we built the Rangeley Region Health Center for telemedicine. But it currently runs in all the places that you just said, as well as down the Ball Mountain Road, all the way down to Stevens Road. And there's a fiber optic cable that runs all the way down South Shore Drive.
So everybody along that route can already have
No, not yet.
high-speed internet?
Up until very recently, Consolidated wasn't offering it to anybody except for those that paid for it to get to certain locations.
Okay,
You have
it
the
was just
my knowledge
some
of
new
fiber
information to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, you have your department head updates. Any questions on anything that you saw, concerns? Thank you. In your calendar, February 4th, Consolidated Communications. February 4th at 5 p.m., we're Zooming with a broadband proposal presentation. Joe has assured me that the plantations are aware. They will be attending with their representatives. And so far, the feeling is that there is interest, high level in some spots. February 9th at 3 p.m. Select board delegates will be Zooming for union negotiation team meeting. You'll see also the Superior Court Civil Docket, AP 21-1, for your information. You have emails from MMA.
What's that Superior Court docket?
Joe, you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a document that came to the town office last week via the sheriff's office. It is related to an appeal for a recent application to build a solar array here in town. So essentially, this is a result of the the people in this document applied for reconsideration through the appeals board of the town of Rangeley, and then followed up by a petition for reconsideration. So there's an appeal and then a reconsideration. And the next step, because they didn't get the relief they were looking for, is through the judicial system. So essentially, they're looking for relief from a decision that the town made related to the permit for the solar array that was granted over the summer.
Okay, who would be the legal team on that?
Who would represent?
Yeah, the town?
So, Mr. Chair, Freddie Flaherty is the town's counsel on this.
You might want to question that.
David, do me a favor. Give Joe a call tomorrow and express your concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, in the emails, you'll see legal notices, this page here. I don't know if you can see what I'm holding up. There's something that's highlighted in blue on your sheet. It talks about law barring municipal members from socializing with each other outside of duty. Remember, there's 3 or more of us together. That constitutes a meeting. Can't do it. Leave the room. Read it all the way through. It's good. You'll also have an email on the right to know. Very, very good. I'm sure you've all read it, but I just want to emphasize it's good stuff. Next up is monthly financial report. I'm going to start off with my buddy right behind me. What do you got?
On the monthly financial, is
Yeah.
this it says June to June on that, is that correct?
July to June, you mean?
July to June?
Yep. Where is she? Rebecca, there you are.
That's how it sets up. It's actually July to now.
So is that to January 30th
Yes.
or the 31st?
Say again?
Is that to?
Actually, it would be January 29th because that's when they were put in the packets.
Any questions on it at all, Shelley?
So I just had one question about the town office building. it looks like, is there some repairs that were done? It looks like we're at 74% over on our budget.
What's your number?
I'm sorry, we're at 74 of me using those funds. Is there something that's extra in there, or is it just basically as the bills are coming in for the town office building? On number 6,
Thank
under
you,
the expense.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that is primarily overdue to the walkway project out front.
Okay.
Okay? Cindy?
Yeah, well, I just want to comment that, we get these expense summary reports every quarter, as do the Budget Committee. And in the past, they've been itemized out so that we can see where the expenses and overruns are. And they're, and with the percentage spent. It's usually not condensed like this. So questions like Shelley's would have been clear because we get in the past, we've always gotten the more detailed report every quarter.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I can change the format of that for the next one. If you,
Well, we've gone back and forth with this, Joe. A while back, we got a complete, and we asked for a summary. So this is what we were given, if memory serves. Is that correct, Rebecca?
Not that I'm aware of.
That is correct. I was informed that to make it more simple.
Okay. So what's the pleasure of everybody? You'd like an expanded version, Cindy?
What we've always received,
Okay.
nothing new.
Ethan, you good with that?
Because
Yep,
it goes
whatever
to the Budget Committee as well. And the Budget Committee doesn't, they're not, they don't meet regularly like we do. So it helps them out as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, you all good with that, Joe?
Yep.
Good, very good. You all set? David, you all set?
Yes.
Thank you. Select Board's communications, Ethan, anything?
None.
David Haley, anything?
No.
Shelley? Cindy?
I really don't, but I just wanted, there's a note that I made in the fire department update that I just, I forgot to ask at the time. On the 21st, it indicates there was a structure fire on 76 Main Street in New Hampshire. Is that correct, in New Hampshire?
That's correct. They were asked for mutual aid for the general store in New Hampshire. When they got there, they helped contain, and fire chief made a determination they were not of any use. They packed up and came home.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard that, so just
Yep.
wanted some clarification. Thanks. That's all I have.
I have one thing. I've been asked by the Snowmobile Club. They have an event permit for fireworks, and they would like to change it from Rangeley to Oquasic for the CF ride, which is the Cystic Fibrosis Annual Ride. I will quickly tell you that the Cystic Fibrosis Annual event has been pared down for obvious reasons due to COVID-19, and also due to state restrictions on how many people can gather inside out and all of that stuff. So unless there's some heartburn, I would ask that you allow that to be changed from Rangeley to Oquasic for those that can attend a small portion of what will be allowed at the Cystic Fibrosis Ride.
So where's the location? Where are they moving it to?
At the same place each year. Just thought I'd test your memory to see if you actually knew where it was,
So you have a conflict of interest then, Steve?
which is why I'm asking you to make that determination. I will abstain from voting.
That's
You
good.
What's the date, Steve? What's the date?
I didn't hear it.
What is the date of the event?
Oh, geez. I think it's the 13th. I don't remember. I think it is February 13th. Yeah, 13th.
I make a motion that we amend the firework permit given to the Rangeley Snowmobile Club prior for the Snowdeo to be taken place in Oquasic on February 13th on Mooselook, Maguntic.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Cindy?
Aye.
Ethan,
Aye.
David?
Aye.
I will abstain, Cindy. That'll be 4-0.
Boy,
Carry
Steve,
that
good
one.
boy.
Okay, let's do. I even lost where the hell I am here. Oh, yeah, right there. Very good. Anything else on the select board communications? I know these Zoom meetings are a pain in the tail, everyone, but I do appreciate your patience with me. And if you have nothing else to say, we're gonna move into executive session. I need a motion.
Make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056D to discuss labor negotiations.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good, 5-0. No action taken, Mark, at the end when we come out. Just so that you know. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night, Kayla.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Nella. Good night, Tracy. Good night, Mark. Yeah. When you're ready.
He's ready.
Ready. We'll come out of executive session at 7:08. There's no further business. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And aye. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.